With carbon footprint and net zero and all this being bandied about a lot at the moment, and myself, I've done a carbon audit from our farm, and we're still working our way through that as to how we get the most accurate results from it. But one thing I want to really highlight is that there's not going to be one solution without compromise. And a perfect example is I've just finished this small 3-acre field of potatoes. And I like having smaller fields in many ways because the hedges and all provide corridors for wildlife and stuff. But if we take it that I have spent 25% of my time in this field just turning at headlands, and now I've got a machine that'll do 2 rows at once. If I had a single machine, or I was planting the potatoes the same as my dad with the planter, he can only do 1 bed at a time. So his efficiency would drop to 65%, or he would spend 35% of his time turning on the headland. Now, if we took out this hedge that divides these 2 fields, this is a 5-acre field, this is a 3-acre field, it'd be very simple to do. And before everybody goes, well, we can't do that, I'm just putting a question out there for everybody to think about. If I remove this hedge, I could take my efficiency from working this 2 fields from 75% for myself and 65% for my dad's job. Now that's only 2 passes. There's several passes to be done throughout the year in every field. Some machines more efficient than others, but this is the 2 we're working with at the moment. I would only have to turn the same number of times in the 1 field as I am doing in the 2 and this wee fields. So I could grow crop in an 8-acre area and only turn the same amount of times as I'm doing in this 3-acre area. So that would take my efficiency with this machine to 95%. So if you take that efficiency gain of going from being 75% efficient to 95% efficient just in this small area, and just by removing 50 meters of hedge, yeah, I would be quite happy to plant 50 meters or more hedge in another area that would be more conducive and more helpful than where it currently is. But what I want to make the point about is, if I remove this hedge, I would actually reduce my carbon footprint, because the efficiency and the less fossil fuels that we would put into the atmosphere would far outweigh the removal of that hedge. Now, I'm not suggesting I'm going to remove that hedge, but I'm trying to make a point here that to be more efficient and to reduce our carbon footprint, there probably will be things that have to be done that environmentalists won't like. And there is no easy answer to all these problems. And it's just one I was thinking about today there when I was working in this small field. I could remove 4 hedges, which would be roughly 200 meters of hedge, and instead of having 8 fields that average 4.5–5 acres, I could have 4 fields that average 9 or 10 acres. And I could take my efficiency just in this job alone, not taking the whole thing. If we added it all up, it would be colossal. For this one job, from 75% efficient to 95% efficient. So that would be 25% less time spent burning fossil fuels, just turning the machine because it can't operate. So where do we take that one? Now, I'm one of the farmers that are actually being proactive and taking concern about the environment and how we can reduce our carbon footprint, and we've conducted a carbon audit of our whole farm, and we'll put this into a follow-up video to try and explain what my carbon footprint is and how it's been reached, because at the moment I have a lot of concerns as to the fact that the people measuring the carbon footprint don't know how to measure certain things. So if they can't measure them, they can't tell me how good or bad a job I'm doing. So until that comes, it'll be very difficult for government or Department of Agriculture to put measures in place that's going to say my carbon footprint is, or a farm's carbon footprint is, if they can't measure the carbon footprint in the first place. Perfect example is this machine behind. I spent 68,000 investing in a machine that would be more efficient, would be kinder to the soil, would provide me with the option of going into reduced tillage in my other crops, which again releases less carbon into the atmosphere. But no carbon auditor yet can tell me how much I'm saving in carbon by using that machine. So if they can't do that, a lot of work will have to be done before governments or departments can turn around and say we're going to reach net zero and such, when they don't know how to measure carbon in the first place. I could work it out exactly for every operation over the year in the field process. Obviously growing different crops will be different. But it's just one I want to leave out there that, you know, sometimes actually trying to improve your carbon footprint can be detrimental in other ways, and I'd be very worried that government will do something to be seen to be ticking a box to win votes that won't necessarily actually get us anywhere.